You want to look at the Holy War, which is played early this year. You know, people are used to Week 10 watching Iggy and Eds, but they move up a couple of weeks for this one, and still you're going to get the same great crowd on Saturday.
Well, I expect the crowd to be there. What I'm also expecting is to see how St. Ignatius responds to all the injuries. That's been the story this year. They're also going to be playing who started last week, a sophomore quarterback who was the fifth quarterback who's taken snaps for St. Ignatius. For St. Ed's, they've added a wrinkle. They've put Sean Crawford back at tailback from the slot, and it's paid dividends. You know, for Sean Crawford, he's a guy, guys, who any other team he'd get it 25, 30 times a game. Ed's has so many athletes, they weren't really using him. Now he's running back, and he's explosive. For me, the key to this game is for Ed's, put your foot on the gas pedal. You know, really put it on them. You don't want to let St. Ignatius hang around.
It's going to be, you know, just throw out the records of this one because it's going to be a great game. And now Eds has a quarterback who can throw the ball too, which is also another wrinkle.
Absolutely. Keene, their quarterback, throws the ball well. They've got the running backs. I mean, at all phases of the game, I have not seen Eds show any susceptibility to a loss. And in fact, you know, someone told me a comment, I thought it was pretty funny. We moved to 7 divisions in Ohio, but actually there's 8. There's St. Ed's, and then there's the 7 divisions. But if you look at our power poll, we got Coleraine, Moeller, and you can't look past Ignatius, but week 8 is Moeller, Ignatius. We'll find out who that top division really is.
Much more gets renewed this week. St. Ed's and St. Ignatius. Ed's comes in #1 in the state. They go up against Ignatius, but forget about the records. Throw it all out when these two teams get together. Coach, who do you like?
Yeah, when you talk about massive offensive lines or defensive line, St. Ed's offensive line averaged 276 pounds across the board. That, to me, for a high school team, is incredible. That's a small college team right there. The big question is injuries for Ignatius. There's rumors out there, little articles that saying John Thomas and maybe Mike Vitale may come out and be healthy this week. If they do, that gives Ignatius a much better chance. But I look at this game, Sean Crawford, and that offense from Eds is just so explosive. That's why their track team's so good every year, because they have the speed, and I really think Eds is just going to be too athletic and too dominant for them this Friday night.
Now, Rhino, I know you can't pick the game, but what do you think one of the big keys will be to this game?
Well, I think the key for St. Ed's is put your foot on the gas pedal and press that pedal often, because we all know the worst type of, the most dangerous animal is a wounded animal, and that's been Ignatius. They've had a rotating door of injuries offensively. They're going to be playing their 5th quarterback of the year this week. So, but forget, like you said, throw the records out. If Eds allows Ignatius to hang around, we've got a ball game on our hands.
Yeah, and I don't think there's going to be much incentive needed for Coach Kyle to get this game. They're playing the #1 team in the state. They're playing their arch rival. It's as much payback. I hope some of the things that Coach is hearing is right. I hope they do get John Thomas back. I hope they do get a playmaker back, because I want this to be a really good football game. I think all of Northeast Ohio, the state, the alums on both sides want this to be a good football game. Nobody wants to see 40-7. Nobody wants to see a blowout. This means way too much to our area, to the state, to the alums that live all over the country. So that said, I got to go with St. Ed's. I think they're one of the best teams in the state, if not maybe the best in Division I. So I'm going to go with Ed's, and the fans are going to go with Ed's as well. So we'll
season wrapped up tonight with the Holy War. Ignatius and Ed's, the Wildcats looking to hand the Eagles their first loss of the season. Second half, game tied at 14. Matthew Coletta connects on the first of 3 field goals in the second half. Iggy would lead 23-14. Fourth quarter, Ed's looking to make a comeback. Eagles get a field goal from Matt Ramser. The Eds back a touchdown, now 23-17. Biggest play in the game right here on special teams. The Eagles force a punt, but St. Edward would muff the punt, and Iggy ends up with the ball. And then they would run out the clock. 23-17 your final. Ignatius in the upset.
Special teams tonight, you know, we did a great job. Both of us had some errors, but you know, it comes to play. Every big game, special teams come to play.
It's a rivalry game that's going to be cemented in history. You know, we look at it as you always want to play best in this game. We didn't, you know, we had some missed opportunities, turnovers, some things that didn't come our way in the previous games, but that happened.
Football season wrapped up tonight. It included the big game of the year for the Cleveland area, St. Ignatius against St. Edwards. It was in Lakewood. First quarter, first play from scrimmage. Ed's tailback Sean Crawford gets free, gets into the clear, gets away from everyone. 80 yards in the first play to give the Eagles a 7-0 lead. Later in the first, Wildcats would answer. Mike Vitale from 4 yards, a little more conventional there, tied the game at 7. Moved to the second quarter, Ignatius down 14-7. They tied it again. Mike Siragusa, diving touchdown catch in the end zone. And from there was a field goal fest that St. Ignatius went on to win 23-17.
Week 8 of our Friday Night Touchdown, all your high school football highlights coming up next.
Welcome back, everybody. It is almost time for children around Northeast Ohio to dress
up. Week 8 of Friday Night Touchdown, a big rivalry game as St. Ignatius took on St. Ed's.
Here's PJ Ziegler with more in your Howdy Do Morning Sports.
Howdy do, good Sunday morning to you. It is the Sunday edition of Friday Night Touchdown, in the game that needs no introduction. 4-3 St. Ignatius taking on undefeated St. Ed's in a great American football rivalry game. And how about survivor Michelle Knight taking in her first high school football game on Saturday? Good to see her on the sideline. Second quarter, John Thomas back from his shoulder injury, fires in the end zone. Michael Saragusa hauls it in, knotted at 14 at the half. Second half brought to you by the letter T, as in turnover. First, Thomas throws, he's picked off. Then Brett Keene drops it off to Sean Crawford, who takes a wicked hit. He fumbles. Wildcats recover. That led to a Matt Colella field goal, and St. Ignatius took a 17-14 lead. Colella added one in the fourth, a field goal that is, to give the Wildcats a 20-14 lead. And then the St. Ignatius defense came alive. They sacked Brett Keene. They held St. Ed's to 106 yards in the final 3 quarters. That will lead to another Colella field goal. It was 23-14 St. Ignatius in the fourth. St. Ed's forces a Wildcats punt, but Sean Crawford can't handle it. St. Ignatius recovers. They take over late in the fourth. What else? A Colella field goal, but it sails just wide, and a running into the kicker penalty gave St. Ignatius a first down inside the Eagles' 10-yard line. The Wildcats went into victory formation. That's how this one ends. St. Ignatius knocks off undefeated St. Ed's 23-17. Coach Kyle, how was it to have John Thomas back under center?
When you have the senior quarterback back there, that helps a lot. He's been a quarterback for us for 4 years. He knows what we're doing, and we weren't sure at the beginning of the week. We really weren't. But as he kept throwing, and he was going, yeah, it's feeling a lot better. And by Thursday, he said, I'm fine. So he looked fine tonight.
You have to make it a positive. If you don't, it's not fair to the kids. It's not fair to the program. It's not fair to St. Ed's and the community to make it more than it isn't. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to make it a positive, and we're going to make it a life lesson and move on and go forward.
Largest line. Big one last night in Lakewood. Number 1 in the state, St. Ed's hosting St. Ignatius. First play from scrimmage, Sean Crawford goes 80 yards for the Eagles as we speed things up. Made it 7-0. Ignatius answers on the Michael Vitale 3-yard score in the first to make it 7-7. St. Ed's goes up again. This time quarterback Brett Keene finds Alex Stump for a 13-yard strike. At the half, we're tied at 14, but the Wildcats have a kicker named Matthew Colella, a great kicker. He would hit 3 field goals in the second half, and St. Ignatius wins 23-17. Everybody, that's an upset because St. Ed's was number 1 in the entire state, and the Wildcats came in 4-3, so a big win for St. Ignatius.